Speaking the truth to the state capitol. This is Drive Time Lincoln with the Commander, Jack Riggins, on the voice of Lincoln, 1499.3 KLIN.
All right, folks, Tuesday, April 18th, a lot of fireworks going off in the city, but we have something way more important to talk about, and that is Barry Law and ESRG Patriot. These are all awards. Vet Index, Department of Labor, Platinum Medallion. John Barry, thanks for coming in.
Jack, thanks so much for having me.
You, in one way, are having to educate me on some of these things, and I'm always so thankful that there's someone like you with your vet service and your entire firm, and really how you just are a watchdog for veterans and all of our kind of rights, especially medical, but anything really. And sometimes when it comes to awards that you give out or you receive as a law firm, it can go by folks' heads, and I think it's important that people understand the good work you guys are doing.
Well, thanks. And we feel the same way, that you have to broadcast these things if you want to get people involved and you want to share the message. And look, we were both active duty, and I got out, and actually we were both at Al-Assad probably around the same time. I was there in 2005, and I was a active duty infantry soldier, then I was a Nebraska National Guard soldier, and when I got into the Guard, I started to realize that there's a lot of talent here. There are a lot of talented people in IT, sales, marketing, and all the things that I needed to build my firm. And they come with batteries included because they've served their country. They know how to work as a team. And so in my time in the Guard, I realized, wow, veterans are probably our nation's greatest resource. And I want more of them on my team, and that's how we did what we did. And the awards are a byproduct, but the reality is I don't do this because I'm some type of humanitarian on a mission. I do this because it gives me an unfair competitive advantage.
Well, you're a sympathetic patriot and American too, and you fill a lot of the gaps that sometimes happen in the proceedings, whether it be medical or if there's courts and trials of different things, and you've really set a brand where there's a need. And honestly, the veteran community is like all communities. It's a great community, but there's a lot of needs across a whole lot of things that you guys are helping, will help, and it's good to be recognized. And you're right. We had a talk about the fine sand and the bunkers of Al-Assad. Anybody that's been there understands that. But I also like your quote about, what I consider to be the true citizen soldiers, which are the Guard and the Reserve. When you're active duty, you're just kind of stuck in that bubble. But the Guard and the Reserve folks, have that dual life, and they have experience and everything. And so it's smart to build a workforce around that. But it's also probably smarter to incorporate giving back and using your expertise to help the whole veteran community.
Absolutely. And, we want to be heroes to our heroes, right? And so part of it is absolutely our mission is to help veterans. But what I found is when you hire veterans and you're building a team, right, nothing scales like leadership. And if you have leaders who can build other leaders, that gives you a distinct advantage in any business area. And that's the message I want to share, not just in, the area of law or IT or finance, but having a team who knows what it means to commit to a mission and to commit to each other, and people you can rely on every day, people you had to rely on to save your life, and people who relied on you to save their life. And you think about what it's like to build that coming into an organization brand new. It's very difficult.
Right.
But if we can build a culture with people who know what it means to serve and who want to continue to serve, it's so much easier. It's like starting a race with a head start. And so I really hate the way we've stigmatized our veterans, marginalized them, and said, well, they have PTSD and there's the 22 suicides a day, and we hear all the negative stuff in the news. But the reality is my heroes, the greatest people I've worked with, the people I have learned from, have all been veterans.
Yeah. No, well said. I mean, there's a balance there where I think sometimes, particularly mental health and stuff, veterans become kind of the face of it. The reality is a lot of people have those issues, but the one thing veterans have is literally these days, and most times, they're war horses and workhorses, and they know what team means, and they know what mission focus means. And so, it's a beautiful vision. Tell me about ESRG Patriot.
Yeah,
and exactly what that is and what it means.
Sure. So it's the employer support of the Guard and Reserve. So I was an active duty soldier, and I finished out my 20 years in the Nebraska National Guard. And so this is an award that is for companies that not only just support the soldier or Marine in their Guard or Reserve duty, but additionally have programs to make sure that they're trained and to recruit them. And so we get nominated by team members. So almost every year, one of our team members will nominate us because we allow our Guardsmen and Reservists to double dip. We're going to keep paying them while they're doing their service, and we're not going to penalize them if they deploy. And quite frankly, under the law, you cannot do that.
Right.
But it's amazing that, like I said, this is an advantage. And people see, oh, I'm hiring people in the Guard and Reserve, and they're going to be gone on weekends. No, like that's the reason to hire them. The government is paying to educate these warriors, to teach them how to work as a team. And, warrior ethos to us is not about probably what people think about you and me carrying weapons. Yeah. It's about really getting knocked down and then getting back up with the help of your team. And we all get knocked down in life.
Sure.
But when you have that warrior ethos, it's not Russell Crowe in a loincloth in the stadium, right? This is about a 4-man stack kicking in the door, taking the objective, and making sure everybody's okay and making sure their families are okay.
Yeah, and it's also about training missions where the same thing goes on. People get hurt in training missions, emergencies happen, and you have to be able to deal with them, just as a normal everyday thing. And that's got to feel good when your own people recognize that effort under that title of ESGR, and say, yeah, I'm proud of my group, my team, and I want to see them rewarded for that.
Yeah, and look, guys like you that did the 20 years straight, you don't always get to see what happens in the Guard and Reserve and some of the talent that comes in. I mean, there are young men and women who have their masters and PhDs who are enlisted soldiers who got that program to pay for their school, right? They did march for free college. They marched in the sands. They marched, they did the road marches. They did what they had to do to earn that college education, and now they're paying it off. And, I get a lot of times I get young people that talk about, well, I want to know what my purpose is and my mission is. And I got to tell you that I always say, well, if you want to know, just enlist, or better yet, become an officer and really experience that. But if you can commit to that, right, you can commit to being part of a team. That's why we love to hire veterans. And once again, there's a lot of issues facing veterans. I have a lot of peers, friends who suffered from burn pits, who deal with PTSD. These are all guys I served with. And
Camp Lejeune.
It's crazy. I'm too young for that, but I do know people that have served there, and we're representing them. And when through our VA disability benefits practice where we help veterans appeal, we get to hear these war stories that are just amazing, and you get to hear about just the perseverance, and the great thing is for the veterans on our team that are helping other veterans, for a lot of them it's very comforting, right? And sometimes we don't like to talk about these things, and I don't want to go talk to some stranger, but I'm happy to talk to another veteran about what happened, and then I like that we can share, hey, by the way, you earned some benefits that the government is not giving you, let us help you.
Yeah, it's a great model. I always feel weird as well. Like, I don't know how to describe it, and it's not saying veterans are better or anybody's worse. It's just there's a shared experience which almost immediately veterans identify in some weird kind of code, and we feel more comfortable expressing certain things that we have to work through. And so having a group like you guys at Berry Law and your experience, and then having all the veterans, it's important because it's needed. And I don't know why that is. I just know that there is a special brotherhood, sisterhood, kinship that goes with that, where we feel more comfortable talking about, the issues of service, the issues of the day, issues of raising our family, or going back and saying, geez, I don't think the VA got my disability right. I need some help. And you guys do that.
Yeah, and it goes back to, I first saw this. My father used to go to the Nebraska Vietnam Veterans reunions. My father's a Vietnam vet, and it was amazing to me the relationships that he had with people who he'd never met before. And they would start talking. It turned out they were both, in the same part of Vietnam at the same time. And they were willing to share stories and, have a dinner together and talk. And I do think it's like instant culture, right? When you have that common background, when you've served, maybe you didn't serve together, but you served, in the same vicinity, or you've been to the same bases, and you can explain, and you made the same commitment. There's just this feeling of unity that I think most companies in America beg for that culture. And we get it instantly with veterans.
I know for me, I feel like a bull in a china closet unless I'm around other veterans. Then I just feel like I'm a normal other veteran, excited, passionate person. Pretty interesting. Vet Index is another one that you guys have gotten as well.
Yeah, and once again, that's more for recruiting, hiring, and training veterans. And, look, as we learned in the military, you're only as good as your training. I think it's the Navy SEALs, actually, that say, right, you don't rise to the occasion.
We get credit for a lot of things these days, but I can't even keep count. I think everybody, though, knows that served that that's a reality of how it is. You're as good as your training, or in the case that we like to say, you don't rise to the occasion, you fall back on your training.
Absolutely, and that's so true. And so why wouldn't we train our people? I mean, everything we're getting awards for are common sense things, and they're common sense in the military, right? Training is the difference between life and death. Mm-hmm. And so we train hard, we train realistically. And so when a lot of these award criteria come out, we're like, wait a minute, we're already doing this.
Right.
And we're training because we're trying to train leaders for our future. Look, if you want to ask me, who's the best lawyer at Barry Law? My answer is, we haven't hired her yet, right? Because we're going to keep getting better. And you get better through training. But you did
say it was going to be a female, so that tells me, Freudian slip, you've got a lot of great female lawyers on your staff.
Oh, we have phenomenal. Well, all of our lawyers are phenomenal. But once again, I mean, and it's just like the military, right? I mean, you serve with, it's funny in today's political climate, all the stuff that goes on, but in the military, when you have, it doesn't matter whether you're female, male, doesn't matter, your sexual preference, where you came from, you're all on the team. I mean, And look, if you want to solve the problem in America, do what they did to us. When you go to basic training and you got 16 dudes in the shower who have been from all over the parts of the country, and you got 1 bar of soap and 3 minutes to shower, guess what? Boundaries come down pretty quick. Your prejudices go away. You guys got to work together.
I always used to say, it's about the standards, and it's about learning and growing, and whether dog, cat, whatever, we'll take you, because it's just about having the standards, training to them, and doing it. Department of Labor gave you one as well.
Yeah, so this is the this is 2022, but this was the Platinum Medallion. Yeah, and once again, this is the National Department of Labor, so it's a federal program, and once again, it's recognizing hiring veterans. Yeah. And all these things are out there, and I just wish more companies would realize, look, hiring veterans is not like you're doing the veteran a favor. Create a culture. You're doing your team a favor by hiring veterans and getting that attitude on your team that, hey, we can do this, that I am not going to quit, that I will not let a comrade fail. Right. I just think that, once again, that these awards are important because they're educating the public on the value of our veterans, and they're getting away from the narrative of the problems veterans have, but sticking to the reality, which is our veterans have proven themselves.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have, as you clearly stated, you have experience, which kind of gives you an in-house cheat to understand it, and therefore you get it, and Barry Law has been living that and doing that really probably since its inception, just understanding. But I do like that, you're encouraging everybody to look to the veteran population for added assets to their team and mission, whatever that may be, in our capitalistic society. And I do think that oftentimes people, might have one and done veteran. And, of course, there's going to be issues always, veteran or people. So they have people. But by and large, you don't go wrong with investing in and bringing in veterans to be part of your workforce, whatever you do.
Yeah, not every veteran's going to be the right hire for your team, but you make a practice of it, and that's the most important thing, is making a practice of it.
Absolutely. John Barry from Barry Law is on. We're talking about some of the awards that they have received. We're going to take a break here in a second, and we'll come back and finish up. But yeah, I mean, folks, they're doing it right over at Barry Law, not just with hiring the veterans and retaining and training, but all the things they do in their legal capacity to support veterans, not just here in the state, but the region and nation. 1499.3 KLIN.
You're getting the 411 from DTL with Commander Jack Riggins on 1499.3 KLIN.
John, we just have about 2 minutes. I just want to kind of give you the mic and, go ahead and tell us. I mean, I've given you shout out to Barry Law and what you do. These awards are special, but like you said, it's just kind of common sense. And I just want you to kind of, as we like to say, talk to the audience.
Yeah, well, people talk about the sacrifice that veterans made, but the reality is, for many of us, I'm grateful for the opportunities. I mean, I went to the College of William & Mary, got an ROTC scholarship. I look at all the training I had. I think I was an 05 lieutenant colonel. I think a commander's an 05 in the Navy, if I recall correctly.
We're the same.
So we got a lot of great training. Command General Staff College, a lot of great training, a lot of great experiences.
Do you feel like I do that the service gave me more than I gave it?
Absolutely. But I think you get out what you put in.
Yeah.
And if you go in all in to serve, and this is why we recruit veterans, because we want people who have been there, who know what it means to commit to something, raise their hand, and go all in, because I got out what I put in and then some. And it's kind of funny. As I leave here tonight, I'm actually going to interview a veteran.
Awesome.
So I'm looking forward to that. And this is a veteran that I met while in service.
Okay.
And now this person I think would be a great fit for our team. And so, look, I go to military recruiters all the time and say, hey, if you have somebody with these skill sets, I would love to have that. When I was the battalion commander in the Guard, the officer and warrant officer candidate school, there was recruiters that were recruiting for me. And I was like, wait a minute. Once I get out, I should be going to them to find out who are the civilians that I should be recruiting. And it's really worked well. I've been very lucky, and I'm humbled by the opportunities I've been given by the military, and meeting people like you, Commander Jack, who also served our country honorably. And there's no greater feeling than having a winning team. And I remember being a second lieutenant and wanting to go back to that feeling of just showing up every morning, motivated to serve with my team. And that's why we hire veterans.
Yeah, you bring it every day, and so does your team. I appreciate your time, John, coming on.
Thank you so much.
All right, folks, we'll be back. 1499.3 KLIN.
Drive Time Lincoln with the Commander, Jack Riggins, on the voice of Lincoln, 1499.3 KLIN.